Hello and welcome to Tremaine's Sci-Fi Hour. This is Tremaine and Jag from Tremaine's Sci-Fi Hour.
Hello, I'm Jag from Tremaine Sci-Fi Hour.
Tremaine's Sci-Fi Hour for people who love sci-fi, if you hadn't figured that out already. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, of course, under the name Tremaine's Sci-Fi Hour. And follow us there and maybe get some more updates on what we're making and also commenting on some of your favourite sci-fi themes. So, Jag. Oh, wait, hold on. I've lost the questions. Hold on.
Alright, I guess this is my show now. Okay, so last week we talked about separating the artist from the art. So, do you want a biography of Orson Scott Card or H.P. Lovecraft?
No. Okay. I've got the topics here. We're talking about travel. We're not talking about H.P. Lovecraft. H.P. Lovecraft would be a terrible idea to talk about. Okay.
What about Orson Scott Card?
I don't know who that is, but I feel like if you're listing him with H.P. Lovecraft, I don't want to know. Should we do a biography of the Marquis de Sade? List down in the comments below. Alright,
Ooh, do you do any sci-fi?
We're not doing him, Jack.
I'll look into that. We'll get back to you on that one, but for now you said travel.
Yes, so we're going to kick things off with the travel everyone knows.
Mm-hmm.
Cars. No, light speed. So it's called a lot of things. Light speed, warp drive, hyperspace. I think that's about it.
Light speed is sort of well, faster than light is sort of a category of travel because, like, anything that goes faster than light speed, no matter the method, is light speed or faster than light. So it's saying travel. We've got, 200 kilometers an hour. It's like, cool. Not really a method, though, is it? So, are we talking...
We're talking about... First, we'll discuss...
Black holes? Wormholes?
No, because that's a separate
Warp
thing.
drive?
Warp drive, sure. Let's start off with warp drive. First of all, where's warp drive from?
Where is it from?
Yeah.
Imagination.
I'm going to kick you right now.
Okay, fine. It was Islands of Space.
Okay. I'm still going to kick you.
I'm sure you will. So the general concept of warp drive is from John W. Campbell's Islands of Space.
Right.
The term, Brave New Words, very different. Has used the term space warp drive, which is, I think, the first combination of those words in that order.
Context.
So yeah, most popularly, I'd say Star Trek.
Right, that thing that we don't know about.
Or, if you want real world, there is I'm going to butcher this, I think it might be French, Alcubierre drive.
Okay.
What's the bit it's not French? Mexican, awesome. So Mexican.
Spanish.
Ooh, well, specifically Miguel Alcubierre is Mexican, so...
Yeah, but there's
Mexican has distinct dialects from Spanish.
Okay, I'll accept that. You're wrong, but I'll accept that.
Now, that's all... I don't want to say theoretical. It's all speculative.
But speculative fiction is somewhat what we're doing, so... Let's talk about talk about something that's important when discussing sci-fi, which is the suspension of disbelief. Because we don't actually know. Sorry, I should rephrase that.
Much.
We don't have conclusive evidence on how space travel between galaxies will be, or between solar systems.
Or if it's possible.
Or if it's even possible, yeah. So while we're in that period of time, we can have a little bit of fun with this. Same as what they had with before space travel became a thing, before satellites, before tanks, all sorts of things. We can experiment with things. So what I'm saying is, hard sci-fi nerds, unclench your anus for an hour. Let's just talk about this stuff like it could be possible. So, now that we've scared off the hard sci.
I mean, Alistair Reynolds does some very good ideas on how. Anyway.
I don't know. Sorry, you might want to explain that joke, Jack.
His series, Revelation Space, his fast and light travel. Well, it's not really much faster than light travel at all in his book.
What is it? Oh, is that the one where it's just like, just go faster?
No, that's Doc Smith. But if we're talking about space travel, how about this one? How to go faster than light? Accelerate. There we go. Perfect. Sorted.
Poif.
That was the Skylark series. But yep, so different types of space travel. Yes?
Yeah. So, well, not space travel. In particular, just traveling through to different parts of the galaxy at a speed that is beyond what right now would be possible.
Okay. So that includes jumping and subethereal, subspace, and all. Flipping off to another dimension, which has different distances. Okay.
Like the Nether, yeah. Like when you're playing Minecraft, you go to the Nether, you walk a few blocks, you make another portal, suddenly you're 1,000 blocks away. Same thing.
That is the same mechanism as in you'll quite often see it in Dungeons and Dragons. If you go to the Shadowfell or the Fey realm, that's how Doc Smith handled it with subspace. A lot of things use this idea of you just go somewhere where distances are shorter. Because then you're still traveling slower than light.
Right.
You're just traveling further. Yeah. Asimov, Clarke, they all use it. Personally, I like Harry Harrison's One Step from Earth, which is more of the sort of Stargate sort of thing. Which
Right.
nothing travels faster than light. Stuff just happens at two places at the same time.
So that sort of parallel universe.
Yeah, it's this whole spooky action at a distance thing with quantum mechanics.
Right. And so, I mean, we talked about Doc Smith last time.
Mm-hmm.
Not
a few times ago, yes.
No. On the schedule. On the schedule, it's actually just after.
Oh no!
Just before this. So, talking
How
about.
do you do this to me?
You have the schedule. Anyway. So, we talked about Doc Smith, so maybe we should talk about some of how he does light speed. How does he do light speed, Jack?
So it depends on which series, because so Skylark, they just accelerate faster, and he's aware that it requires, like, the reason why you can't go faster than light is because the closer you go to the speed of light, the more energy it takes to accelerate the same amount, to the point where you could use all of the energy of an exploding star, and it will give you, this tiniest fraction of a meter per second faster or whatever. So he gets around that in his story by having this transuranic element and chemical X combined to just make enough power to do that.
Right. So
later, when the universe gets too big, because you got the whole power creep thing of, well, if they can travel that far and that speed, it sort of makes certain things trivial. So later he does something similar to subspace, where he does, it's called they use the term translating,
Right.
where they test it with items, which is it rotates into the fourth dimension and then comes back somewhere else in our third dimension.
Right.
And they're like, perfect, we put this item in, it goes whoomp, and it appears over there in literally 0 time. Then they do it with people, and spoiler alert for a book that's like 80 years old. When they do it to people, subjective time changes so that instant in the third dimension, they spend like a few weeks in the fourth dimension fighting weird fourth dimension aliens. And apparently, like the translation from third to fourth dimension is very unpleasant.
Right.
Getting stretched in a direction that didn't exist before. So that's how he does it with Skylark. In Family D'Alembert, they have subspace or sub-ether, because that was with the idea that there was a sort of fluid that occupies space called the ether, and the
Right.
idea was they just dropped out of that. So if you pictured spaceships as being submarines, zooming through the water, dropping into the sub-ether is like popping out of the water and flying through the air. You can go a lot faster in a plane than a submarine.
Oh,
So
I
by
see. Yeah.
having a different medium, you can go a different speed, because the speed of light is the speed of light in a medium. The speed of light in glass is slower than the speed of light in space. The speed of light in water is different. And so the idea is, well, if there's stuff in space, you can travel through an area where the speed of light's higher by having this different medium. What other books did he have? There was a Skylark series. Lensman. Lensman is weird.
How so?
So, oh boy, it's been a while, but if I recall, they kind of use a similar subspace idea. But they've got these MacGuffins that are the lenses, which lets them do all sorts of weird stuff. And an alien, one of the Adorians, no, one of the Arisians, comes to Earth and just like fixes an engine to be able to do space travel. But then you get the same thing with the power creep, where by the time people are third stage lensmen, they're teleporting themselves through the galaxy with their magical lenses. It's got a lot of magic, basically.
Right. So I'm probably on the border of science fantasy rather than. Actually,
Yeah,
that's a podcast in itself. Is the idea of, well, what's the difference between science fiction and science fantasy, really? But
I mean, Skylark was very space opera. Family D'Alembert was almost noir. And then Lensman, man, I don't even know. It's almost like a comic book superhero story. It's
okay.
almost Justice League, but it's still sci-fi.
Right, like Justice League. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we've sort of covered Lightspeed there. I'm just conscious because we have lots to get through.
That's the
And
main ways. There's Star Trek's warp drive, which uses a different method,
oh, yes.
which is, I don't know if they specifically use gravitational lensing for it. This says it's spatial folding. Basically, their dilithium nonsense, their magic, um, squishes the space in front of them. They travel through the shorter distance, and then once they're past the shorter distance, it expands the space behind them back to normal size. So they're just, yeah, they're shortening the distance between 2 points to travel faster through it.
Sorry, I forgot to mention. If you want to get high before you listen to this to this podcast, if you want to take mushrooms and then listen to this, that might be a good idea. We don't condone the
and that's
issue.
only what the humans do. The Romulans use black holes that they make themselves. Uh, and then Q, who is like demigod range. I think he can just bloody teleport.
Right. And then obviously in Star Wars, uh, hyperspace. It's not real. It's explained in books, but not really well. It's essentially Lucas made a very big galaxy, and it turns out you can't just fly from one spot to another without taking a great deal of time. So it'd be a lot easier and a lot more convenient if there were certain points and certain pathways. So it's not like a it's more like Dune. It's not really
Ah,
like a portal. It's more this area is clear of things, I believe, and then you fire through there and you end up there. That's why you can't make the jump to hyperspace.
near a
Um,
star.
well, no, like you can't make the jump to hyperspace just anywhere. There has to be a certain. You have to be clear of stuff and things like that. Otherwise, you crash right into it and destroy it. As we, sorry, unless you count the new Star Wars, in which case
That's a
most
good
of
weapon.
the shut up. The best thing ever is the one where they do it with Leia, where she flies through the fucking
It's a good
first.
edit. Thanks, Fact Fiend. I will
Yeah,
say there's two main types of hyperspace, and that is folding and mapping.
right.
So, so folding, picture you're going from one point to another on a piece of paper.
Oh, the interstellar
Crunch up the paper,
exploration.
and then just draw a straight line in three-dimensional space through this crumbled up ball. That's sort of the folding. Mapping, yeah. Hyperspace is specifically leaving space and coming back. Warp drive is going through space with some sort of weird cheat.
Right. And so that moves us somewhat onto wormholes.
Mm.
Or what are they? The Einstein, not Gibson. What's the?
Bose-ions?
Yeah,
Bose?
yeah, yeah.
Bose?
Boson, something like that.
Einstein-Rosen bridge?
Rosenberg. That's it. There we
I was thinking of something else actually. But yes, the Einstein-Rosen bridge or wormhole.
Yeah. So,
So how does that work?
well, we get a piece of paper.
Oh.
Well, we don't know. So I think it's all theoretical, isn't it? That because we haven't actually observed a wormhole, that would be that because. No, you're going to explain this better. Because of relativity, there's a reason that wormholes exist. I can't remember what it was because I didn't read the Wikipedia page all the way through. But because of the theory of relativity, there is some sort of abnormality that's called a wormhole that may allow us to travel through parts of space and possibly time. I don't know if that's true.
It's two connected points in space-time.
Yeah. So
Problems are that's not two connected points in space.
right. So you could theoretically end up in the same spot just two
A
minutes ago.
different time. There's no like if you look at the whole field equations and the special solving of them, there's no particular limit to the distance in terms of space, time, or universe. So you could have a wormhole that literally takes you 3 meters that way, or it could be
Mm.
so far you're in a different universe,
So we
or
basically
it could be 2 minutes ago. It could be the Big Bang. it
So
could be that
basically,
far ahead. And, like,
we would have to send thousands of drones or probes into those holes to find out where they end up. That's Roswell. Okay, I figured it. Oh, so Futurama did that in one of the episode at where they end up in Roswell. The alien they find is actually Zoidberg.
everything blue.
Anyone else feeling a little blue? Oh. And then, of course, the amazing part where Fry accidentally becomes his own grandfather, uh, and the professor just screams, "You know what? Screw it. Let's alter time." Goes through, blows up the military base, and steals the satellite dish and Zoidberg back. So that would
An Einstein-Rosen bridge is a black hole with no charge or rotation.
right. What would that? How would that change things?
So, I mean, the thing is that it might not exist. It's a
I mean,
mathematical.
I think everything we're talking about may not exist.
Well, at least these are actually like proposed to exist. I mean, we know black holes exist. It's possible that a black hole could have these properties.
Oh, okay. Nerd. Right. Don't say the obvious
certainly
thing.
haven't found any.
Yeah. Otherwise, well, yeah, we haven't found any, we swear. But yeah, so tell me a bit more about this, about what we need to examine what it's done in fiction, because obviously one of the most famous examples is Interstellar, where they went from one point in, I think, just outside the solar system all the way to some planets to try to find a new place for humanity. And then that bookcase thing. But what... What other... What other examples are there in fiction, I suppose, is what I'm going to ask. I didn't mean to just...
You've already mentioned Futurama.
Yeah.
Roswell, that ends well.
Yeah.
There was also in the movie where the last hole on the golf course was a black hole, so you can't get your ball back. That was the Panama wormhole. But wormholes for travel, I mean, Doctor Who.
Right.
The time vortex could be a wormhole, but the rift from one of the more recent series, so not classic Doctor Who, but like old new Doctor Who,
right.
That is a massive wormhole with one fixed end and one end that just moves around. Star Trek uses wormholes quite a lot. The whole like first movie is based around a wormhole. And the new ones too. And they use time travel in that. Stargate, of course. The Stargates are wormholes. They just have extra rules put on them.
Right, yeah.
Which is fine. I mean, you got to make a story.
Yeah, I think
everything Marvel in the past 10 years. All of it.
All of it?
Yeah. You know Bifrost? The Rainbow Bridge going to...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's an Einstein-Rosen bridge. Those aliens who arrive in the Avengers?
Yeah.
They arrive by wormhole. Doctor Strange, those cool circles he makes, those are wormholes. And these are all explicitly wormholes in universe.
Right,
that is the explanation for them. The mechanisms vary, like Doctor Strange uses Eldritch magic. The Bifrost is just part of Yggdrasil, basically. Attached to Yggdrasil. Oof, I need to read up on my Norse myth and legend. The
Okay.
Tesseract just makes wormholes.
Right.
If you recall, there was a little time travel thing where they had to go back and steal the Tesseract from themselves. Wormhole.
So wormholes becoming a bit of Deus Ex Machina.
Sort of. It's just the thing is, especially with Marvel, like they introduce it, and then it's like, oh no, this would fix or address so many things, we have to use it. It's sort of like
Right.
the time turner problem in Harry Potter, where I made this thing. Well, that fixes everything. Get rid of it. Whereas in Marvel, they're like, they can do wormholes. It's like, okay, now everything has to take into account that wormholes can be done.
Right. Yeah, I see what you mean.
His Dark Materials by Philip Pullman is a popular series. You might recognize the
Nope.
name Northern Lights or Golden Compass.
Nope.
They did make a movie of the first book. It was all right. The books were fun.
You know how much I hate
Um,
sci-fi. I wouldn't.
the last book was weird. Halfway through, it just completely changed genre and writing style.
Do you think he started doing edibles again?
Um, it kind of feels more like someone told him he has to stop writing about how much he hates God, and his wife was like, "Give me the book, I'll finish it. I'll make it about love. Don't worry." I'm trying to think of like
That's the power of.
what are some big like The Expanse has a wormhole in it. I've already mentioned Alistair Reynolds. So that's pretty much the only way they do fast and light travel in that, and they don't do much of it. They have to put weird rules in. Can't think of many books.
No.
No, it comes up in games a lot.
Yeah. What kind of games?
Portal.
Oh. Yep. Thought you were gonna legitimately thought you were gonna say a very obscure game, and I was like, oh, yeah, Portal.
Crisis. Command and Conquer 3.
Oh, fuck, of course, yeah.
Um,
Oh, that was
yeah.
Halo. No, not really Halo.
No, not Halo. It's also in television and film, of course. Examples. You mentioned Interstellar. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Futurama. Okay, so now we've already mentioned them. So it's Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. They use that TARDIS-like device, which is wormhole based.
Legally distinct from. So
So
we also need to
yeah,
talk.
wormhole.
We also need to talk a little bit about well, sorry, not interplanetary, planetary travel, because obviously things are going to be a bit. Things
Okay,
may be a little bit different.
planetary travel. You are on a planet and you're traveling, or the planet is traveling.
Both. No, we'll talk
Because I
about
love
planet.
me some Starship Earth.
No, we'll talk about planet traveling later down the line. But I
Okay.
wanted to talk about traveling within a planet.
hmm
So, what? I mean, so we've talked about. I think it was Asimov who didn't drive, so he made up a lot
Rolling
of
walkways.
rolling walkways. So give us some insight to him about the different ways people would travel on Earth or in whatever planet they're on.
So he was very big on um public transport
Right.
because that was. I mean, yeah. Is it? He didn't drive himself. So these slide walks, um, as they're often called, H.G. Wells, Heinlein, and Asimov all had them. and for Asimov, he saw it being how everyone on Earth travels. The
Right.
only things that don't use it is getting food in from outside the city, where you have like
Trains.
the way I pictured them, they were kind of like massive APCs. But
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
that'd have been sort of trainy, sort of, container truck sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but on Earth, because Dawn didn't have them, or Aurora. Are those different
Yes.
planets? Robots of Dawn takes place on Aurora. It's been too long, my friend. Um,
This has been too
but
long.
yes, that's in terms of Earth. And when you get on the expressway, they go 95 kilometers an hour. And if you're doing long distance travel, you just take one of the seats and sit there.
Oh.
I believe I mentioned earlier that this has actually been tried in France, among other places, and you just had a pole to hold on to, which is
Very French.
terrifying. Yeah, Heinz, the roads must roll. It was a lower class that maintained them, and it was a big sort of revolution story of, proletariat versus the bourgeoisie. Um, Not too familiar with the examples in H.G. Wells. His take place in London, future London. But same sort of thing, caves of steel. But yeah,
Right.
rolling
So,
roadways are rolling roadways.
so what about shuttles and like hovercraft and things like that? What are some good? I mean, so obviously Star Wars had a lot of hovercraft and things that can just float.
Ground effect vehicles,
Yeah,
yeah.
as we discussed in a previous episode on travel.
Oh,
But so, uh, what? Well, I suppose what do you think the future? Just to go off of sci-fi for a little bit, what do you think we will drive in the future? Because a lot of people thought we'd all have personal cars, which we sort of do, but now it's sort of becoming unsustainable. So, what do you think?
so wheels are just too damn efficient.
Right,
The energy required for ground effect vehicles is just silly. Um, the increase in efficiency from not having contact with a roadway really doesn't matter when you're putting all that power into staying off the road. I don't see us having any sort of hover vehicle unless we get some degree of gravity nullification, but that's definitely sci-fi.
right,
Personally, I'd see us maybe moving towards going to jump back to Doc Smith. Well, Stephen Golden really wrote this part. On Strangler's Moon, they have no one has private cars basically. The
right.
governor does, but people no. So it's a giant uh, underground complex on a moon, basically Vegas, and all travel is handled by these things called JITs, if I remember, JIIT, and they are taxi buses. You flag one down, you hop on. There's already like 8 people in this, relatively small bus. You say where you're going. He bumps it into a computer. It's got its little GPS thing, and it goes right, adjusts its route, and you'll get there. You know,
Yeah,
and so it's kind of like at the moment there's this Uber share thing
yeah.
where you hop into an Uber and there's already someone there
Oh,
in it.
okay.
But because you've put into your phone, I'm going, to this pub, and an Uber that's going past it or ending before it, picks up your thing, and grabs you, drops off the other person, drops you off, or drops you off on the way to where the other person's going, and it reduces the costs.
Right,
I
and
see it
also
going that way.
okay.
I see that happening, and maybe with for cheaper people, for people who don't want to spend as much, it'll be minibuses and maybe actually run by the councils, local councils. So sort of on-demand bus system. Especially if they get autonomous driving working, because then you'll go up to a bus stop, hit your destination, and a passing bus will stop and be like, "I'm going near there, hop in."
Get in,
Be
get
like
out.
perfect hitchhiking, basically. And then there'll still be private systems like what Uber do, except hopefully without all the massive legal violations and stuff.
Well, there goes the brand deal with Uber.
This is why I said Patreon. Then we can be we can have journalistic integrity.
I don't want journalistic integrity. I want money.
I want money. I know. We'll work on it.
So, no, we won't. Okay, so
Patreon.com. One day, I swear, it's gonna happen.
It's gonna happen.
I'll set one up and not tell you.
So we haven't really talked about this thing that I'm about to bring up at all on the podcast, because to a degree they're not really science fiction anymore, but jetpacks.
Practical jetpacks are science fiction because you have to carry your fuel around with you, and we just don't have that sort of energy density.
Right, but we can fly.
Yeah, I think recently they reached a new not benchmark, but I think they've managed to hit 25 minutes for a personal flying propulsion system.
Oh shit! Okay.
Which wouldn't get me to work. So, as far as transport goes, very niche.
It wouldn't get me to work, but it would get me. But it would be the coolest way to get to work out of everyone who got to work that day.
Yeah. I just have to, get a bus halfway, back, and then from there I could jetpack in. Yeah.
And then you had to find a power source. Yeah, I can see the problem.
The problem is energy density, and then the things that we have the highest energy density, the engines required to extract to utilize the energy are ridiculous. So, we usually use petrol as an example, right? Gasoline.
Yeah.
46 megajoules a kilo. What would we use for, a jetpack? Maybe.
Yeah, because going up, there's
instead?
going up, there's going down. Yeah, I see what you mean. Oh, sorry, wait, no. Okay. Do you know what just happened then? I was thinking about a totally separate issue and answered it. I was thinking, how would we measure how much mileage we've done?
Well, that also causes problems. But let's look at our densest battery. Let's say we're using electrical
Archie, yeah. The
storage.
densest battery, yeah.
Yeah. 1.6 megajoules a kilo. Petrol, 46. So
I see the problem.
It ain't going to be on batteries. I mean, when you're looking at things that actually have a high enough energy density to be a practical source, you're looking at liquid hydrogen.
Oh, the stuff that's highly flammable
Uh,
and explosive.
yeah, yeah.
The stuff we made the
But
Hindenburg. Oh no, that was
but
hydrogen, wasn't it?
that was
Just
hydrogen
the gas.
gas,
Yeah, just the
which
gas.
is
Yeah.
the same energy per kilo, but half the energy per liter. Because we're also thinking of volume, you know?
Right.
Even if it's something lightweight. I mean, a hydrogen balloon the size of a car, you can fly with that.
Fuck the movie up, just like
But,
see you bitches later.
but how does that help? Um,
Set it on fire.
and of course, when you look at, like pressurized hydrogen, if you have a hydrogen tank of pressurized hydrogen, just like 69 megapascals, like the standard hydrogen gas, compressed hydrogen gas, 5% of the weight is the hydrogen. The rest is the tank.
Right.
So, so it's great to say it's got 140 megajoules a kilo, but it actually weighs 20 times that. So now
Right.
you're
I
down
see.
to
I see the
7
problem. Yeah.
megajoules a kilo once
Right.
you take into account storage. At which point you have the same energy density as um oh human bathroom waste. Uh, like
Uh. Okay.
literally as useful as
Weird,
burning
but
your
okay.
farts. So
Weird,
I've
but
got a list here, and it's like household waste, zinc,
yeah.
burning plastic.
So
So
what you're saying is
not
not very
helpful.
useful.
Yeah. Unless you've got some way of, I mean, wireless charging in the road, and you go just above the road. Just have a bike. Have an electric motorbike that uses wireless inductive charging from set in the road. But at that point, little trams.
Streetcars, yeah, I know. Like, there's the problem is this whole idea of will things be private or will things be public?
I think there'll be a mix, and you pay for convenience.
Right. But because
I
there are
don't
different.
see actual private vehicles lasting forever. We're not going to have hover bikes. People don't maintain their cars. People crash cars all the time. Now add in 10 meters of height when you do it. Do you want to crash your car 10 meters in the air? No!
Yeah, it's an interesting way of saying it. All right, so
And you're a good driver. You'll get your car maintained every week as legally required if it flies. Did your neighbor Steve do that?
yeah, Steve's a real asshole, man. Have you
He's
thought about
terrible. I saw him
Steve?
beating his dog. He's like, he's not gonna look after his flying car.
Yeah, he beats his dog.
Can't trust a dog beater.
Oh God.
Content warning: this episode contains scenes of animal abuse.
No animals were harmed in the making of this. Except Jag. Okay,
Kitty
so
harmed me. Kitty harmed me terribly. You're a naughty cat. Oh, I'm sorry.
push over. All right,
Other
so
forms of travel, though, or other realms of travel. Yes.
yes, so I think we're going to talk about the stellar motor because that's one that's
Ooh.
really interesting. Interesting me, yeah, interests me.
Mm. So, stellar engines are broken down into 3 classes.
Right.
So, Class A, the Shkadov thruster, named after Dr. Leonid Shkadov. Can you guess his ethnicity?
Possibly Germanic.
Soviets.
Oh Jesus.
Well, it was 1950.
Oh, so it was stolen from Germany.
He may have. Leonid Mikhailovich Shkadov.
No, he probably came from. Who cares? Anyway, carry on.
His birthplace is listed as Soviet Union.
That makes me think he wasn't born in the Soviet Union. It makes me think he was a scientist in Nazi Germany. The Soviets arrived at his lab, grabbed him, and walked off with him.
Yeah.
And then just changed all his credentials.
It's a bit puzzling because, he was deputy director of SAGI. He received the USSR State Prize in 1977. Where was he born?
Soviet Union.
Soviet Union.
He spoke with distinct German accent.
Do not ask more.
We will ask the questions.
The Class 1 is the Class A is the stellar propulsion system, which is probably more along the lines of what you're thinking of.
Yeah.
Of actually moving things. So, this is a strange one. I would say that I'll explain and then I'll ask you if it's what you were thinking of. Attach a giant solar sail to a star.
What is a solar sail?
A big mirror. So when photons bounce off it, they exert a tiny little push on the mirror.
Right, I see. Yeah.
The more reflective the mirror, the better, because equal and opposite reaction. Absorbing the photons doesn't get you as much propulsion. It just causes more things like heat. So big old solar sail attached to a star, and then just the star will move in that direction. The planets orbit the star; they'll just go with it.
Right.
If a star changes direction, the planets will follow. Now, we're talking about a massive, massive solar sail. This would, over 1 million years, move a star 0.03 light years out of where it would have been. After 1 billion years, it would be 34,000 light years off track.
Something that they mention on Kurzgesagt, which is where Kurzgesagt, I can't remember how to say it.
Nutshell.
So the way they talk about it is this would be for a species that is not like ours, where it's very short-term focused. There would be ones that go, in about 1 billion years' time, we're on a collision course with an asteroid. We better start moving. Though...
After 1 billion years, you could travel... The difference between where you would be and where you are instead would be a third the width of the Milky Way galaxy. So 1 billion years, because the thrust, it would always be accelerating. Always. Under its own power.
Right.
So, yeah. 1 million years, 0.03 light years.
But you see what I'm saying with how it needs to be for a species that would be thinking years and
because in
centuries in the future.
In 100 years, the distance it would have moved would be not measurable.
Right.
After 1 million, you'd go, we're a couple of planets across from where we would have been.
Right.
In 1 billion, you're the fastest thing in the galaxy. Possibly the universe.
So what I wasn't thinking of a solar sail. I was thinking of the thing where it absorbs. I can't remember how it absorbs energy from the sun.
Probably the Class C
the one where it sucked. The thumbnail of the Kurzgesagt video. The thumbnail of the Kurzgesagt video where it shows the sun being sucked into a machine that then fires it out of the fucking back of it.
Yes. So, Class B is just a Dyson sphere.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know if we've spoken on this before. Basically, you put matter around a star where heat on one side and cool on another produces usable energy. So that's just a class B. That doesn't move anything.
Right.
Unless you put it on only one side, in which case you've made a solar sail. Class C is probably more along what you're thinking of, which is a Dyson sphere. It's either what I described with the solar sail Dyson sphere, or the Kaplan thruster, which is a Dyson sphere attached to a Bussard ramjet, so just a plasma cannon.
Yeah.
So that doesn't have to be a Dyson sphere, but to get the amount of energy from the star required, you're looking at a Dyson sphere or a Dyson bubble of some sort.
You know what's Dyson bubble?
A Dyson bubble. So a Dyson sphere is a complete shell.
Right.
Whereas you can have different types where there's gaps, basically. So a Dyson sphere is connected panels. A Dyson swarm is just orbiting satellites, which then beam energy back. A Dyson bubble is like a swarm,
Right.
except they don't orbit. They have solar sails to hold themselves in place.
Yeah.
So it's a static bubble like a shell would be, but in pieces.
I see, yeah.
The Dyson shell being just the Dyson sphere, as we usually consider it. The Dyson ring is just a swarm, but in these chains around it. Dyson net is a swarm that are literally just connected by cables. So yeah, the Kaplan thruster would be realistically one of those things, with massive ramjets on the back, which blast plasma and oxygen 14.
I see, yeah.
That's probably what you're thinking of, because after 5 million years of running one of those, you'd be traveling at 200 kilometers a second. So,
well, what I was
1 million years of running would have you go 10 parsecs. Now, Tremaine, do you know what a parsec is?
No.
A parsec is it's 3.25 light years. So, as opposed to the previous thruster we talked about, which a million years, you'd travel 0.03 light years. With this one with a great big jet on it, a million
Right.
years you'd be traveling 33 light years. Which is, of course, the distance light travels in a year is a light year.
Well, I think the theory behind that was that we could then send off colonies, like as we pass by like habitable planets, we just send off colonies, and we suddenly become the most dominant species in the on the planet, no, on the in the galaxy. I think was the idea.
So a lot of times I've seen it in fiction. They make a Dyson sphere, but leave a slit open that covers the Earth,
Right.
and so that the Earth still gets its light. And then it's this sort of class C, the Kaplan thruster, which they just drive the sun away. And so our nearest star is 4.2 light years away. So this would get there pretty quickly, as far as things go. As we said,
Yeah.
1 million years would take you about 10 times further than the nearest star. So you're still looking at quite long periods of time, but the average star should be able to do about 100 million years of power for one of these things.
At which point we simply detach from it and move to the next star. But
Yeah, this in terms of like actual like when would you use this? If you could have 10 million years warning that our star was going to hit another one and could turn this on then, that would be enough time to avoid hitting.
right,
But you
saving our
have to look
species.
10 million years ahead. At that point, just go to Alpha Centauri, Proxima Centauri. You know, just move.
Just uproot civilization and move.
Well, yeah, to go back to Doc Smith, they do that with planets quite often in the end, towards the end of some of the series, where they're like, well, this planet's in trouble. Let's just shift it to a better sun. Um, Depending on the series, sometimes they put it in stasis and then just push it somewhere. Sometimes they translate it through, subspace and just basically teleport it somewhere. It varies, but either move the people or move the planet. It's a lot easier than moving a star. But the star provides its own power supply.
Right, so that would be like a. Yeah, I see the point. Alright, well,
Yeah.
I think that's about all the time we have for today. I hope you've enjoyed.
Teleporters! Uh...
Alright. You have 13 minutes to describe to talk about teleporters.
Read Harry Harrison's One Step from Earth. It's beautiful, and it covers like all the different ways, like the things would actually do with matter transmission. Um, I think one of my favorite like concepts, if you have proper matter transition, is just spread mankind out really far. So like you're in your bedroom, your door isn't, a wall with a hole in it. It's a matter transporter. You walk through it into the dining room, and you're actually, you know, in a capsule around a different star now.
Oh, shit.
It would make humanity immune to solar flares and stuff. Like, okay, this section died, so this quarter of mankind lost one room each from their house, and it's just a different room each. It's like, oh, sorry, Timmy, your family lost their bathroom. Don't worry, we'll just convert this spare room to a bathroom.
Sorry, Timmy. Your dad wasn't taking a shit on Sunday, and now he's dead.
Um, but
Just imagining Timmy opening the door just as he walks in. He's like, "Oh, I don't know why. I just don't want to go in for some reason." And he just he hears his dad call out, "I'm in here, Tim." Oh my god, what's that? And then he's gone.
so
That's
the reason why I list transportation or teleportation or matter transmission as separate is because one way it's often portrayed is it scans the original, completely destroys it, and then
replicates it.
elsewhere, using spooky acting at a distance, the information isn't transferred. Nothing travels faster than light. It's just the other end suddenly has an an exact copy of that information and then rebuilds the subject in the new place. So
Right.
you die and a clone is made of you when you go through. Uh
Look, they talked about
and
that on Big Bang, so go check that out if you want more information.
it's a very interesting concept to explore. You die and are reborn each time. Are you still you? It's kind of the ship of Theseus. Kind of just is a clone you if it's cloned perfectly. Um,
Right.
but yeah, as I say, One Step from Earth by Harry Harrison, I think covers a large number of the potentials and problems of teleportation. So, some homework for you all out there. What are you up to? Three listeners?
Oh, don't be silly. We lost 2. We're down to 2. Now,
Okay, so, Dad, I know you're listening. I see you in a fortnight. Feel free to borrow the book if you want.
oh, God. All right. And
When
Mum,
does this episode come out?
and Mum, if you're hearing this, can you please buy me some crumpets because I'm out. All right. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to check out other episodes. If you're interested in this one, perhaps the bios on Doc Smith and the upcoming ones on Heinlein and Asimov may interest you. And also don't forget to check out the Sci-Fi Weapons one for a more war-like flavour to our usual discussions. As I
do still take recommendations.
And we do take recommendations. So if you do have recommendations, check out the Facebook page, Tremaine Sci-Fi, or the Instagram page, Tremaine Sci-Fi. Drop us a follow and a like, and type in your suggestions for what you want to cover, for what you want us to cover next. And if you have any requests for interviews, because we would love to interview some more people. Thank you again for listening, and this has been Tremaine on Tremaine Sci-Fi. Goodbye.
Bye.
God damn it, Jake, you bring up H.P. Lovecraft one more time, I swear to fucking God.